Hi there, and welcome to the Entertainment Expo presented by the DeKalb Entertainment Commission. Today's topic, the art of the short film, is presented by WIFTA, Women in Film and Television Atlanta. My name is Shelley Schmalz, and I am the Director of Community for Stage 32, the world's largest platform for networking and educational resources in the entertainment community. We have 1 million members strong. I'm also the creative director of the Spring Cinema and Tap House. So you can come see fun films there all the time. And today, what brings me here, I've got my WIFTA hat on. I am the VP of Programming for Women in Film and Television. And with me, I have three amazingly talented panelists. And so if you can introduce yourselves and give your name and a little bit about yourselves, we'll start here with you.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Parks. I am a local scriptwriter, and my film that I just finished is called The Jazz Age in the South, an African American Perspective.
My name is Melissa Simpson. I'm the Executive Director of Film Impact Georgia. I also have recently, in the last month and a half, 2 months, produced on 3 different short films. One I associate produced. The next project I produced was Come Correct, directed by Molly Coffey. It's a queer story about a woman really discovering who she is. And then the most recent film that I wrapped on last Monday is called Walkman. It is a slice of life story of a Chinese immigrant family in the 90s.
Well, hi, I'm Kay Singleton. I'm the creator and showrunner of a show called Covenant that's currently streaming on All Black and Amazon, and you can find it on Spectrum TV as well. I'm also on Tyler Perry's The Oval as the second lady, Miss Simone Winter. You can see that every Tuesday. And the reason why I'm here is because my very first film, The Checklist, was in Bronze Lens and Black Women in Film Festival. And so I'm excited to talk about short films.
So I guess my first question is going to Kay to talk about, your first production was a narrative film that you wrote and created yourself. How did you kind of come up with your story and figure out where in the story you wanted it to start? Because of a short film, you're only really limited to a slice of life of somebody's unique perspective. So if you can kind of talk about that a little bit.
Sure. I think from a writer's perspective, especially when you're starting out, the easiest thing is to write about your own life experience, right? To take in what problems you have and what issues that you want to face and just what life hills and valleys that you had to go through. And so the first short film that I produced was about, my struggles in dating and relationships and, never getting the one you want, but the one you probably need is right there that you keep ignoring. And so it was a slice of my own personal life and my girlfriend's lives and what we've gone through. And so because it was so close to home and it did have some of my real fears and, real flaws in there, we started right where, and this is where the film opens, where she's in the bed, with her satin cap on, dreaming about this guy that she's always wanted, that always seemed to be, just a step away out of her reach. And then she's waking up alone and the whole, this is real life. I've just reached my 30s. I don't have anyone. What's going to happen? I still have to have a baby. Am I going to freeze my eggs kind of deal? And that a part of that is in the whole little opening short monologue. But yeah, I think starting out, if you're writing and producing it, it's easier to take personal life experiences and personal stories and put it on the screen.
And so how did you, within your process, so you wrote your script, did you get together with your friends for a table read? How did you go from your script to actually taking it to filming?
So I was in Bridge 17, which is a scriptwriter studio. I was in classes for about 2 years. And so that was actually a script that I started in class. And so once it was done, I had a table read and got critiques and got notes. So it's just like the whole process. If you had been working with a studio and you have to do your rewrites from my instructor's notes, who was amazing, by the way. She taught me so much. And once we got to the point where it was ready to film and, you know, breaking it down and learning how to put it into a budget and schedule form, then it was the casting process, raising the funds that you needed. And that one in particular, I think I had about $10,000 to do the film. And so going from the concept to the table read to notes and critiques and then raising the funds and then hiring a production company, or at that really was some producers. It wasn't a whole company, but finding a team to help you, you know, execute the idea. And at that time, I knew nothing really about budgets. I was just spending money whenever the bills came. And so we learned, or I learned about budgets after that. And so that's a whole nother story we'll get into later. But yeah, that was the opening process to, you know, writing, critiquing, table reads, casting, finding your team, shooting.
Did you find that there were aspects of the story that you wanted to put into your film that you needed to take out to keep it within a short film time frame for yourself? Or
as a writer and a producer, you're always gonna have to cut your darlings. Because it was 24 minutes. It has to be 20 to get in. As a writer, you have to cut down the pages, and that's what hurts the most. But it was easy for me because we talked before we started filming about sound issues. I had to cut about 3 scenes anyway because you couldn't hear the refrigerators running or whatever. And so that's something you learn along the way, to be cognizant of sound, to have a very dependable and experienced sound team who can make sure that your project is the best it can be. I feel like we missed out on some awards because the sound was so bad in some of the scenes that we couldn't salvage.
You can shoot on any camera. You could shoot on, it does not matter, but if you have bad sound, that will tank everything. So don't put all of your money just into your camera budget. Like, sound is so incredibly important. Sorry.
No, that's gold. That is gold. They need to know because it's because it was messed up to the point of no return in some scenes, but in other scenes it was just wonky, but it still hurt the project. The story was good, so it was still nominated, but it didn't win, I think, because it was sound and lighting issues in a few different places.
Well, and I think that's a good thing about short films too, is that it lets you get that experience. I mean, that's a script you can always reshoot later again if you want to, or pull it into a larger piece of a feature film.
Oh yes, that's the next steps.
Yeah, we'll get to that later in the panel. But yeah, I mean, I think that's so valuable to have. So Tiffany, my question for you is, as a documentarian, I mean, there's just so much information out there. How did you, number one, I guess, find your topic and then be able to narrow it down to the specific time frame? And, you know, obviously the 1920s are a century behind us. How did you find your resources and your, the people that you wanted to interview?
You know, the idea, I came up with the idea because I'm the Black History Month coordinator at the DeKalb History Center. And a lot of people know DeKalb History Center, the weddings and things like that. So we have our programs there. And so I was thinking, we were talking and we were like, okay, this is 2020, it's 100 years. So what should we talk about? The Roaring '20s, the Jazz Age, because it seems like everything was repeating, like everything that happened 100 years ago seems like it's kind of oddly repeating, like the pandemic, a war, everything. So we wanted to focus on it in terms of the South, the African American perspective. And I know I repeated this earlier, but so we wanted to, you always hear about Capone, I think it was Cotton Club. Is it the Cotton Club in the North? Yeah. The Cotton Club. And so you never hear about what's happening in Atlanta, in the South. And so Atlanta had a very interesting jazz age. It was very educational, business oriented. And so we wanted to focus on that. And so that's what we did. And a lot of people were like, wow, this is a good idea. We never heard about this perspective. So this documentary, that process gave us a chance to experiment with, a very interesting topic. So that part was like everything. And I know you had another question.
Well, how did you find the people that you interviewed? Did you use your resources in DeKalb County? Were there like different educators?
You know what we did was I tend to scour. So I went to Georgia State University because Georgia State University has a huge film school. It's really excellent film school.
It's my alma mater.
Oh, is that your alma mater? It's an awesome school. It's an awesome school. But, we worked with a guy named Ben Weisenhunt. I don't think he's working there anymore, but he was a filmmaker. He was one of the teachers. So we paid him to actually produce the film and put it together. And honestly, it was a unique experience, Shelley, because I actually got to see how film was put together. That was the first time I ever seen it, but he shot it. I got to see all of the hard work it takes for a filmmaker to actually light, sound, everything. And so I was able to see that. But I'm the writer. I'm the writer. So it was just interesting just to see the entire process. And so that's how we went about finding people. We generally went to Georgia State because we heard Georgia State had a really good film department. And plus they are in partnership with Georgia Public Broadcasting. So yeah, that's how that happened.
And then did you see that like an additional narrative kind of come through your story as you were, seeing any commonalities between, the subjects that you were covering?
Absolutely. Like we were, September is the person's name. She was the narrator and she did an excellent job. But some of the topics that were coming through are still repeated today. You had a lot of the rise of all this racial hatred and a lot of like civil rights issues, a lot of issues dealing with women, wars, pandemic. But the pandemic was the biggest thing. Pandemic was something that just went on. Also, we focused on back then, jazz was considered like this devil's music, okay? And so the Black church had a lot to do with, promoting, of course, the African-American life, but also that was a part of that type of music the church condemned, okay? Mm-hmm. They condemned that kind of music. So it was just kind of interesting to see how, an institution that actually promoted the progress in the Black community, but also it was just that sort of narrative that we don't, that type of music is just not, accepted. So just the dynamics, just the push and pull, it was interesting to see that too.
Just that themes from history repeat themselves a lot. Well, I think that these notions of narratives and feature and stories that are created by personal experience and also documentaries leave a way to have a calling card as a short film for a feature film, because there's always more to explore. So maybe I'll have Melissa kind of talk about this one, and then please share, both of you, your experiences. But how can you use a short film as a calling card for a feature or for a director?
So one of the things that I often say when I talk about like Film Impact Georgia and why we started our grant program, and specific to short films, is there's no return on investment for short films, except for those lightning in a bottle, like, situations where somebody sells it to HBO or something like that. Mostly, short films are a way for filmmakers to cut their teeth, to explore who they are as filmmakers. And a short is a great way to take a story that maybe you want to tell in a larger way, but use it as a proof of concept that you can do the work, and then use that to really take to investors to get the money to make a feature film. There's also, there have been quite a few successes in the indie community where that has happened. Thunder Road, which is a Vanishing Vanishing Eagle project with Jim Cummings. They took that from a short film to a feature film, and they actually Jim runs a program where I believe you can submit on from Film Freeway, where you take a short film project and turn it into a feature. But you've got other projects like Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. A lot of projects start off humbly as a short film. That way you can work out, your story. You can work out how you want it to be shot, and then kind of take it from there. You don't have to. Short films also are just a great way to build your resume to get bigger projects, or sometimes just to tell a short story. So I don't think everyone needs to do that, but there are definitely ways that making the short film first can help you get to that next level on a feature film.
I personally think too that documentaries, just my experience writing, my film, is a great way to tell local history.
Yes.
I love local history because I think people are so tired of hearing general history. And so it's a great way to pull those local stories that you don't hear about that often, those unique local stories, and really get that out to the public.
In the South, where history has been completely whitewashed.
Yeah,
and there are so many stories that need to be told.
Mm-hmm.
That's something we also, in our application, we always ask people, why are you the person to tell the story, and why is now the time?
Mm-hmm.
Because we want to make sure that people are telling authentic stories, and telling, you talked about telling stories that are important to you and on your own experiences. And documentary wise, there's so many stories where, Black and African American people have been erased, women have been erased, and I've loved, absolutely. And so I 110% agree that and that's why, we're trying to make things better for creators here so they can tell those stories. Because I've been quoted before, and I will say it again, we've had enough of white guys driving fast cars. We need actual homegrown stories and the stories of the South that are so important.
Yeah, diverse stories. You're right, diverse stories.
And to piggyback on that, I learned so much from your documentary because I wasn't aware of what was going on down here in the South with the Jazz Age and how it was so taboo and the church was against it, but they fought through that. So I was, a student in the classroom in that moment. So I appreciated that. And that's why they're so important.
You're right, and that's a good point. And they're great educational tools inside the classroom, because I showed lots of film just to kind of layer learning so students can see. But also just like the film festival, you can learn. I learned about 10 topics at the film festival through documentaries. So they're a great way to tell just a really good local story.
And we're really, we're really grateful in Atlanta that we do have so many film festivals also that have unique missions and unique niches that we can, have just such a plethora of different documentaries coming our way in town. Kate, do you want to speak a couple minutes about how what your short film did for your career and how you made it into features?
Absolutely. If I had never done the checklist, I don't think I would have gotten in the rooms that I needed to pitch to the different studios and networks, because it put me in a different space of, okay, now you've produced this. You've had this brainchild as an idea. You wrote it, you produced it, and you're able to show executives that I can execute a project and bring it to fruition. There's so many, I think there's this saying with productions that it's a miracle that anything actually gets finished, because there's so many things that come up in between. And so that's why I like to tell a lot of filmmakers, whatever, just do it, get it done, get it through post, finish it, and have that as your calling card, because you need that on your resume. I don't think I would have gotten into the rooms if I wouldn't have done it. And now I do, and to piggyback on what you said earlier, I do see it as a feature because there's so many things in the checklist that I think can engage conversation, whether that be about infertility, whether it be about the changes in how relationships are to this day, interracial dating, because we touch on that too. And so I want to be able to have those kind of conversations in different forums with different women and see how, you know, they're thinking, and if that's on the pulse of what society is going through. And so, you know, I saw that say it's important for filmmakers to get their babies, their ideas on camera and out in front of the people, their art form, whatever that may be, whatever story that they want to tell, because it can, if you keep pushing, it can catapult you to that next stage.
And that's, yeah, I think that that's vital for people to know, is being that person who takes that film. I mean, you're obviously taking your, you know, your friends and your crew with you to your next projects.
Yeah, and they got to know that you can execute something and they can get a return. They want to see a return on their investment. So for sure. And I don't want to end it with check. So after that, I had to do something else. And then I got the show because, you know, I told you we had the issues with sound. And so I had to do a project, and you've seen Twisted after that to get me in the doors. And so the more you create, I think as filmmakers, the better off you are. But like you said, there is no return on investment. And I still owe my dad money from my first one. So, but it's all worthwhile.
Well, so that goes into my next question, is for all of you content creators and aspiring filmmakers out there, what is the best way to start with a short film on a budget? How do you bring your resources together? You know, who do you go to first? What would you suggest?
You know what, for me, I was, like I said, I was, you know, Black History Month coordinator at DeKalb History Center. So I was part of the institution. So I would suggest, if you love history, like I'm a big history buff, I love history. So a while back, I just got connected with DeKalb History Center. And so they, you know, they invested, and I wanted to do a few films, and I was able to, you know, write films through this organization, and the budget was low. It was only like $5,000. But it's like the little film that could, because it's gotten so much recognition, but it has educated so many people. Like Kay said, it has educated so many people, so I was just happy. But it was like $5,000 that the institution, you know, put up. So I guess in my case, I guess that's the route I went. And we did get some grant money as well. So I don't know if that's conventional or if that's just how people, you know, but that's just the route. Happened for me.
Well, I think that. I mean, you bring up a good point about being able to connect with your passions. So if you find that, you know, and they essentially were the sponsor of those films for you, but Melissa, I know that you work with a lot of scrappy filmmakers who are pulling it together with sticks and glue. So if you're building your foundation that way,
work on other projects. Work for other people, find other creators that you can pitch in on, and then call in those IOUs. I mean, even recently, one of the 3 short films I did, I associate produced on as a work exchange, because the director of that film also works as an intimacy coordinator. And so I didn't have the money to pay her normal rate that she's getting paid on studio pictures. So I associate produced her project, so that way she would come work as an intimacy coordinator on our project. So work exchanges, you know, build up your IOUs. And then I know we'll get into local resources later, but look into, you know, the organizations that are around you. There's so many in Atlanta that are here to help, you know, filmmakers grow. Start there. Make sure you feed your crew. That's the number one. Yes. Yeah. Like if you can afford to pay them, they will be willing to do a lot more for you if you actually, you know, feed them.
And I'll say this too. because I am type A, have like a plan for where you want your project to go. Don't just do something like, okay, what am I doing with it? So start to do the research on where do I see this project going, whether that's social media, because now people are shooting, skits on their on their cell phones and putting it on YouTube or Instagram or wherever. But if that's your route and there's nothing wrong with that, then you can understand, okay, well, I don't need a Red or, these Alexas or whatever. I can shoot this on my iPhone and then I can upload it and try to get it to go viral, if that's your plan. Or if film festivals are your plan, and I heard someone bring up Film Freeway, start going through Film Freeway and see which festivals, you want to submit to. And it doesn't have to be to a festival either. If you want to try to do some kind of screening locally at, a local theater and invite influencers, whatever the plan is, I would say map that out first. And that way you know how much money you need to spend from, little to nothing to do it on your iPhone and have your actor friends, the IOUs come in, or, whether you're trying to do it on a bigger scale, but definitely plan it out first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and your crew will be much more willing to work for you, even if you cannot pay them their rates, if they know that you have a plan, that they can trust that you know what you're doing and that, you've got places to go with it.
And simple things like just adding your film to IMDb and giving people IMDb credits goes a long way, for sure. Is there any other pieces of advice that you would want to give just, from anything that you've experienced?
Sound again. One of my worst experiences and best experiences as a filmmaker. I've told this story. I'm sure, Shelley, you've heard it. I did a 48-hour film project when I was in school, and that was the greatest lesson I could have ever gotten. I recommend every new young filmmaker do it. We did not have a good sound person, and we were literally at the Midtown Arts Cinema, sitting down to watch our film in a theater full of people, and then you couldn't hear any dialogue, and our drama suddenly turned into a comedy because a guy's getting shot and you have no idea why. And so the entire theater is laughing, and we all obviously wanted to die and disappear from the earth, but we learned more in that one experience than I'd say I did in a semester or two of school. So get out there, do stuff like that, volunteer on teams. That's another way to meet people and find your group, but don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that is the best way to learn. So not everything you do is going to be amazing and perfect, and that is okay.
Yes, absolutely. And from a writer's perspective, if you can afford to get in classes, please do so, because there's, certain structural elements that you need to have for Hollywood that need to, I hate to say Hollywood like that, but, that industry standards that they can tell, right off the bat from the first page whether or not, you're following this very, very specific structure. And so, but if you can't, there's also so many other resources because the internet is a superhighway. So the whole masterclass situation, they have Aaron Sorkin and Shonda Rhimes, and then they have so many books, beyond Save the Cat. Don't just stop there, but, try to educate yourself as much as you can, because I'm still learning every day. I'm still buying script writing books because it's an element that you have to keep moving that muscle along, so that you can get better. But
read scripts. Read scripts online.
Read as many as you can, and I do all the time.
Volunteer for film festivals. Volunteering for film festivals. My entire career, I can trace back to volunteering at one specific film festival. You meet people, you make connections, but also you can volunteer for their screening committees, and you can watch the films that are being submitted, and then you can start on your own seeing what works, what doesn't work, and then you can see those mistakes being made made or those, masterpieces being made. And then you can take that into account into your own filmmaking.
Absolutely. There's nothing like being in the room with other people who are also looking at films kind of from that type of curation critique.
And just to piggyback off Kay, I actually started writing plays. And so I did the transition from plays to film. I didn't know I could write a film. I really didn't. I just kind of tried, and it was so similar to playwriting with the dialogue and everything. But you're right. Once I did that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is similar. And I think Tyler Perry I think he started out as a playwright, and then he segued to film. And so it was really kind of inspirational to kind of hear how he did that. But I agree with you. Getting dramaturgs, people to actually look at your script and help you format the script. There's a program, a free program called, oh my gosh, I can't believe, Writer's Craft or something. And it helps you, or it automatically form. Is it Screencraft? Or it's Writer's Draft, I can't believe I completely blacked out. But it helps you. There are some programs I know that will automatically help you format a script.
Celtex is a free,
maybe it was Celtex.
A free screenwriting resource. The industry standard is Final Draft, but you don't have to buy Final Draft to write a script in format. You can use things like Celtex, which is CELTEX. And
there's Writer's Duet.
It's like
Writer's Duet.
I think maybe it was the Writer's Duet. But it's these programs are out there, and like you said, it's just about practicing and reading scripts and just talking to people who know how to write scripts and just getting them to.
And you can't act your way out of a bad script.
Right. Such a good
cut that.
Such good advice. But this conversation definitely leads to my next question: is what are the resources out there for filmmakers? And the first thing I'm going to plug is our host today, DeKalb Entertainment Commission. They have an amazing website, DeKalb Entertainment. We have Shelby Jackson here is today actually watching our panel.
You were going to get called out.
Yeah, I have to call Shelby out. She's also one of my WIFTA sisters on the board, and she's amazing. And as director of the DeKalb Entertainment Commission, she and her colleagues have set up an amazing website that makes it easy to reach out here in DeKalb County to find resources for permits and locations, and talking to the staff about sponsors or finding, people to collaborate with in your film. So, go to the website, connect with DeKalb County, because they are here for you and they want you to connect and collaborate and create together. So that's my first plug, is DeKalb County. My second will be WIFTA. As we're all members of WIFTA, I think we can attest that we've met so many people and networked through our programs. And WIFTA also has sponsorships and monetary grants that we give out. Next month will be our WIFTA Gala, and we have sponsorships or scholarships for college students. So if anybody's interested in that, you can email me at shelly@wifta.org. And then we, this past year, we were able to grant a $20,000 post-production grant with to a filmmaker in conjunction with Moonshine Post-Production, which is one of the largest and most talented production houses we have here in Georgia, and really, I think, in the U.S. itself.
Agreed.
They both are, they do a lot of larger films, but they also are so dedicated to our indie scene here in Georgia. They're phenomenal resources as well. So those are the first two resources that I'll show out there. If everybody else kind of wants to share some resources, and I could see Melissa smiling in the middle.
So, as I mentioned, I'm with Film Impact Georgia, and I already mentioned our grant program that happens twice a year. We just closed our fall grant, but we'll be opening our spring grant in January. So, start working on your scripts, your pitch decks. The grant is $5,000, no strings attached, with a mentor of your choosing. So we've had folks that needed help in film festival strategy. We've had folks that needed help in post-production. So we pair the filmmakers with a mentor to help them throughout the process. So that will open in January. We also have just tons of resources we've collected on our website. We have a filmmaker toolkit, which essentially has hundreds of templates, everything from personal agreements, crew deal memos, templates for storyboards, for articles on how to create a pitch deck, which, oh my God, pitch decks are so incredibly important. We have budget top sheets. We have basically everything that you could. How it happened is I had the privilege of going to film school, University of North Georgia, and everything that I either created there or resource that I found, I amassed and then put it up for free because we believe in breaking down barriers of entry into filmmaking. We also have, suggestions for podcasts. We have a list of Georgia film festivals and what their dates are, how to apply. So we've just amassed as much free resources for filmmakers as possible on our website because we want to support our community and we want to see creators really thrive here.
What's the name of your website?
Oh, sorry. It is filmimpactgeorgia.org. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Filmimpactgeorgia.org, all spelled out. You can also find us on social media. We are at Film Impact Georgia.
Wonderful. So what are your favorite places to network? Let's start with Kay.
Definitely for writers, Bridge 17 Scriptwriter Studio, love their writers program. For me, it changed the game for me as a writer. And I can't say any more great things about it. And as far as other resources, I love that, and I'm just going to repeat what you said about getting involved in organizations, whether they're Film Impact Georgia or WIFTA, or wherever you can volunteer, where you can find a home. And for actors, because that's my other people too, getting an acting class and having that community of actors, because we're going to need each other. You're going to need actors in your short film. You need to volunteer to be in their short film and do each other favors. So any actors resource that you can get into, there's so many different schools, Get Seen, Drama Inc. There's a list on the internet, but yeah, acting schools, writing classes, the whole deal.
So I am in the early stages. You guys, I'm in the early stages, but I am a member of Working Title Playwrights, and they do have film writers. But I also am in the process of joining the Atlanta Film Festival or Academy. They have just free, paid for screenwriting courses, taking screenwriting courses. So I'm kind of in those early stages of just seeing what's out there. Film Impact Georgia, I'm going to that website. I am. And WIFTA, Shelley, your resources from WIFTA, it was really good, just invaluable. So, just networking. I'm in the stages of networking.
I'll also plug Stage 32 in there as well. Mm-hmm. We have, so as Director of Community, we've got about 20 different lounges that go from acting and cinematography and screenwriting, composing, that at any point in time, there's about 200,000 people in the world who are having conversations around the entertainment industry. So, and those are all free resources for people to take advantage of, as well as we do. There's the section for classes from people, top entertainment in the industry. And I think what makes Stage 32 different from other resources that we have pitching resources. So you can go and pitch directly to the decision makers in the studios and in production companies to make your projects happen. So we've had a lot of success coming out of projects happening and being created within Stage 32 that go directly to screen, which is really cool.
I forgot about one. Can I add one more? So also on filmimpactgeorgia.org, we have a link to our Eventive page, which is a streaming site. During the pandemic, we did an entire series called Ask a Pro Anything, where we got folks that, normally we wouldn't have been able to have conversations with. So we have David Bruckner, who did The Night House and most recently the new Hellraiser. We have Lane and Ruckus Sky, who are two incredible screenwriters that did Becky and Reckoning, which is now Devil to Pay, with Daniel Deadweiler in it. So we have all of these conversations up for free, past panels, workshops. So literally, we just had conversations with these folks, James Ponsolt, talking about their career and then having people in the chat ask them direct questions.
Wow.
So that is all available for free as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like we just had a fashion show of organizations. It's great. So I'm down to my last question for everybody. What are you working on next? So we'll start with Kay.
So next, right now, The Oval is airing every Tuesday, 9 o'clock, 8 p.m. Central on BET. It's going to get really spicy this season. And I hope everyone is Team Second Lady, Miss Simone. Also, I'm getting ready to shoot a film next month. And I'm super excited about it. I'm acting in it, but also producing. It's a political thriller, and it touches on some really dark but necessary conversational things that happen in Chicago. So I'm looking forward to doing that film. And then I'm shooting season 2 of Covenant next year. So it's kind of we're going to end the year with a bang.
Yay, Melissa?
Well, I'm in post-production on several projects. We've already, for Come Correct, started applying to festivals. So that's incredibly exciting. As far as Film Impact Georgia goes, we are hosting a film summit in December, where we're going to have quite a few folks in the industry, including the DeKalb Entertainment Commission, that we're going to have conversations of what the next 15 years of our industry looks like. And then in the next year, we'll continue. Earlier this year, we did a filmmaker roundtable where we had the community come out and tell us what their wins and their pain points are. And we're planning on traveling across the state next year with that roundtable. So that way we're not just focusing on Atlanta, but also the filmmaking communities around Georgia.
And I am working on a script. I've just actually finished writing the script. It's about a local event that happened about 50 years ago, 1950s. And it's about, all I can tell you is the bootlegger's name is Fats Hardy. And it was a very national story a while back. And it was how he just cut corners one day and did something that was very dark to the Peoplestown community in Atlanta. That's all I would say. That's a very interesting story. So that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, no, so you don't have to give any spoilers.
I'm hooked.
I'm already excited about it.
I'll tell you guys more about it.
And then for me personally, I'm producing an event in December called the Hanukkah Golem. I'm working with a local screenwriter, director, and it's going to be an immersive theater event at the Distillery of Modern Art. So I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be something that Atlanta's, it's a beautiful venue. But it's literally something that Atlanta, I don't think, has ever seen before, like very real immersive theater, like Sleep No More. So usually I think Atlanta thinks of immersive theater as Instagrammable moments, but this is like, takes it like to like 20 more different levels of that. It's going to be a dark comedy. So it's going to be cool. I'm excited about it. And then on the WIFTA front, and I'll end with WIFTA, we have our gala on December 2nd. And so we're very excited about that. So if you want to keep up with us at wifta.org, you'll be seeing more about this and our honorees. Every year we celebrate women in the community that do great things in entertainment, and we're there to celebrate them and elevate them. So we're very excited about that too. And we'll be announcing those people very, very soon. And I think that's it, everyone. I think that we've had such a fantastic conversation about the art of short film. Again, I want to thank the DeKalb Entertainment Commission for having us today and the Plug ATL for hosting us. I've been Shelley Schmalz. This has been the amazing panel of Tiffany Parks, Melissa Simpson, and Kay Singleton. And we'll see you later. Thank you.
Bye.
Went up downtown. Went up downtown. Went up